When the moment demands it, the only path forward is to choose courage.
Sir. This is too inefficient. I'm sure there's a better way.
Not just to face what's in front of you, but to transform.
Hi sir, nice to meet you. Anna from Glow Business.
It's the decision to grow, to push beyond limits, and to reshape your own potential. It's choosing not just to endure, but to turn challenges into progress. Doubt into determination, and fear into fuel.
Nak?
Kamusta?
Pa, you're supposed to be resting.
Something wrong at the plant?
Kakayanin naman po. I've got a lot of help behind me.
That's good.
Oh, Iho,
Sir,
congratulations.
thank you so much, sir.
Your digital transformation will set us up for years to come.
When the moment arrives, choose to rise above. Choose the courage to transform with Globe Business.
In the heart of culture-rich Central Luzon lies the city of San Fernando. With its poblacion in the barrio of Santo Rosario, San Fernando officially became a town in 1754 during the reign of Fernando VI, King of Spain. San Fernando is a trailblazer in heritage preservation. Downtown San Fernando is home to the Heritage District. Rich in culture, rich in people, rich in sights as well. San Fernando takes pride in the vastness and diversity of its heritage landmarks. There is truly nothing you would search for that you wouldn't find in San Fernando. Are you a self-proclaimed shopaholic? Brace yourselves because San Fernando will give you the shop of a lifetime. We have the longest mall in the country. Also home to the Pampanga Eye. And an eco-friendly mall with the world's largest solar panel. The city is also home to several festivals, most notably the Giant Lantern Festival, which draws thousands of tourists every year and giving birth to an iconic local industry. Through the festival, the local lantern industry was developed, becoming an iconic Filipino Christmas tradition around the world. A pioneer in heritage and cultural preservation, the city has a continuing Preserving Heritage for Progress program, ensuring that Fernandino culture is prioritized in the development of the city. With strong private sector partnerships, the city is able to conduct festivals and events. Lutong Kapampangan is definitely the most unique and noticeably distinguished from other Pinoy cuisines. So, if you are in search of a place that provides more than just leisure and relaxation, San Fernando, in its simplicity and resilience, offers more than you can imagine. Different walks of life can surely find something that can match their respective interests. The exciting journey of our Calesa tour, the richness of our culture and our heritage sites, the resorts, shopping centers, amusement landmarks. The San Fernando way of life as engraved in our lantern industry. The colorful festivals and events, and of course, the best, most inventive cuisine all over the country. What more can you ask for? In San Fernando, we always aim not just to please, but to let our visitors rediscover something new in the old, and something old in the new.
What makes a city truly livable? It is not only the skyline or the infrastructure. It is how people live and connect every day. Safe streets, clean water, reliable transport, affordable energy, and digital connectivity. In the Philippines, cities are our economic engines. They create most of the nation's jobs, attract investments, and drive innovation.
Good afternoon,
By
ladies and
2050,
gentlemen. We advise everyone to settle down and we will
Your
begin
question
in a
is,
few minutes. Thank you.
That is the mission of Liveable Cities Philippines. We bring leaders together, mayors, government agencies, businesses, and civic partners to share solutions that work. Through our labs, city leaders exchange practical approaches on transport, energy, waste, water, and governance. Each session sparks partnerships, inspires actions, and creates models that our cities can adopt and scale. We also strengthen governance with better data. The Buying eHub is our geospatial platform that equips local leaders with vital information, mapping communities, resources, and infrastructure. Through this, cities can plan smarter, deliver services faster, and respond better to challenges. Competitiveness is at the heart of our work. Cities that are easier to do business in, better connected, and more energy secure become magnets for investment. They create jobs, open markets, and improve quality of life for their citizens. This is why Liveable Cities works with partners to track reforms, cut red tape, and raise the bar for performance. Liveable Cities Philippines is a platform for action, a network, a movement. We convene, equip, measure, and scale what works so every Filipino feels the difference in daily life. Together, let us build competitive, connected, and resilient cities, the true engines of our nation's progress.
Together, let's embark on this journey to empower our cities and shape a brighter future.
The maiden term in 2019 of Mayor Cynthia Falcodelo Fortes saw a fifth income class, Barcelona. Currently, it is fourth. Barcelona is both a gift and a task. From the lens of the locals, it is a fair statement to say that the town has become a livable community. It is clean, prettified, a heritage place, with better facilities and services where locals get their politics right. The local government cascaded and operationalized its core postulate that a clean town translates to a happy people. Messaging the same to the public through its tagline, Malinig na bumto, maugma na tao. Fusing leadership and strategy together, the local government has strengthened its position as vessel of services and development by raising the bar of governance higher. In the hierarchy of prioritization in local budgeting, SDG 11 and Ambition 2040 focused PPAs for a livable community rank high. In the space of circular economy, Barcelona actualized initiatives, including the following. With integrity, competence, and character at the front and center, the local government is working consistently to embed deeper circular economy practices.
Yung
Before we begin the Livable Cities Co+Lab, please take a moment to watch the safety briefing on screen. Kindly stand for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, telas ng sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may di magtitingin. Luman ang araw ng waragin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
You may now take your seats. Please focus on the screen for some key reminders. Reminders for on-site guests. Please put your phone on silent or vibrate mode. Maintain silence while speakers are presenting and the panel session is ongoing. Live questions may be asked during the panel discussion. When given the mic, state your name and affiliation, then your short and direct question. For our online guests, this lab will be recorded for documentation purposes. It is also available on our Facebook page at Liveable Cities Philippines. For Zoom and Facebook participants, please type in your questions via the chat box or the comments section. Vote for questions you like by clicking on the thumbs up icon. To help us improve our labs, please answer the feedback form. You may request for a certificate of attendance by answering the form. Keep us in the loop. Feel free to tag our social media accounts in your posts and stories. Thank you everyone for joining our inaugural Co+Lab on Circular Economy. A roundtable discussion on the circular approach is implemented at the entry level. We are pleased to see a great turnout both here at the Aboitiz Tech Space and on Zoom, as this confirms that many are interested in learning more about how the advocacy work and legislative efforts go hand in hand for a successful circular economy. To officially kick off today's event, it is my privilege to introduce Mr. Guillermo de Luz, Chairman of the Liveable Cities Philippines and Chairman of the Rizalino S. Navarro Policy Center for Competitiveness at the Asian Institute of Management. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome as he shares his opening remarks.
Thank you and good afternoon. Welcome to all our viewers on Zoom and Facebook from across the Philippines. We are coming to you live from the Aboitiz Tech Space here at the Asian Institute of Management. Good afternoon and welcome to our third Co+Lab for this year, centered on our third track, circular economy. Alongside our Co+Lab tracks on AI and smart cities and new mobility, this Co+Lab on circular economy is anchored on the goal of Liveable Cities Philippines of creating more sustainable, climate resilient, and responsive cities. This Co+Lab primarily aims to reframe the general outlook on waste and show how in a circular system, it is a shared community asset. To our distinguished panelists, guests, and participants joining here, and to those of us on Zoom and Facebook, thank you for being here. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of our partners in the public sector. Eileen Lecano, Executive Director of the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, or ULAP. From the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, Andrea Loriaga, Executive Director, Regina Osman, National Secretariat, and Mayor Sunny Ubana, the Mayor of Lopez, Quezon, who's a member of the LMB board, and for joining us today. This lab was made possible through our partnership with the League of Cities of the Philippines, League of Municipalities of the Philippines, Ayala Corporation, and Globe Telecom. A systems perspective is required for an approach to be fully and efficiently operational. In the case of the circular approach, this perspective operates in a loop. The production of materials is reduced, generated waste is collected, and new products are made through repair and recycling. Aside from being the overall process of materials operations, the loop in a systems perspective also pertains to how all members of society are part of the entire circularity initiative. The Extended Producers Responsibility Act, or the EPR law of 2022, functions as a legislative framework setting the country's circular economy in place, mandating our producers and manufacturers to design, fund, and implement programs that extend the life cycle of products. Plastic footprint is tracked and incentivized through a fixed and scaled system. However, for circularity initiatives to succeed, engagement must span from national regulation and city-led planning to individual behavior and social change. This is where localization enters the conversation as a crucial step in the circular approach. Local government units implement circular practices that are calibrated for their unique local conditions. We have LGUs that establish materials recovery facilities across communities within their jurisdiction, while others collaborate with national agencies and international organizations to fund their circular projects. Maybe through existing infrastructure or active circular projects, it all boils down to the fact that people need to use them. Localizing the loop is centered on both circularity in paper and practice. Through routine acts like waste segregation at the source, constituents participate in recovery and repurposing programs, and they make sustainable choices that further motivate businesses and local authorities to scale their circular services. Hence, the circularity loop requires both an operationalized system and a persistent culture of public interest and involvement. This Co+Lab session now underscores how the success of the circular economy initiative depends on collaboration, inclusion, and active participation at the local level. The circular model demands for everyone to be involved more than the tangible initiatives implemented on the ground. This requires individuals in society to adopt more environmentally conscious decisions for sustainable consumption, while our businesses and organizations are mandated to enhance collection and recovery systems. We're honored to welcome an exceptional panel of experts from both public and private sector who are championing the circular approach in their line of work. Today, we have joining us on the panel, Mayor Cynthia Falcoletto Fortes, the Mayor of Barcelona, Sorsogon. Thank you, Mayor, for joining us. Mayor Sunny Ubana from Lopez, Quezon. Thank you for joining us as well, Mayor. Marilen Malonzo Malabanan, Supervising Environmental Management Specialist and Head of the Land Management Division of City Environment and Natural Resources, City of San Fernando, Pampanga. Thank you for joining us. Ivana Aguiling de la Torre, founder of Kaya ROI and Chief Curator at HERDD. Engineer Siege Razon, Chief Sustainability Officer at Basic Environmental Systems and Technologies, or BEST. Thank you for joining us, Siege. And Mark CJ Donesa, DEP 14 overall co-head of the E-Waste Project. Thank you for joining us, Mark. So to officially begin today's Livable Cities Co+Lab, please help me welcome Program Director Yenny Gonzalez to the stage. Yenny will formally introduce each of our distinguished panelists and the work that they are doing for the economy, for the Circular Economy Initiative. Yenny?
Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. In today's discussion, we feature exemplary individuals who have not just studied the efficiency of the circular economy approach, but also embodied it in their respective areas. First, we have Ivana Aguiling de la Torre. She's a Southeast Asia regional development strategist and founder of Kaya ROI. With over 25 years of experience across the public, private, and development sectors, she works at the intersection of circular economy, systems change, public health, and institutional transformation. She advises governments, companies, and communities on building practical solutions that align policy, investment, logistics, and citizen behavior to create long-term economic and social value. She's also chief curator of HERD, a platform advancing female leadership across Southeast Asia as a driver of stronger institutions and more competitive economies. Previously, she held senior leadership roles with Coca-Cola, Sanofi Philippines, Asia Group Advisors, and APCO Worldwide, and she also served as vice chair of the Coca-Cola Foundation Philippines. Her work is guided by a central question: how can Southeast Asian companies or communities build competitive, resilient, and inclusive economies? Please join me in welcoming Ivana Aguiling de la Torre. Our next panelist is Engineer Siege Razon. She's one of our longest partners in multiple Liveable Cities Philippines initiatives. Siege works where waste policy meets community reality. As Chief Sustainability Officer of BEST, and he oversees the Trash to Cash Back program, a ground-level EPR collection network active across 167 barangays in NCR and Bacolod, with over 11 million kilograms of waste diverted from the open environment. Currently, Siege is a PhD candidate at the Asian Institute of Technology's Urban Innovation and Sustainability Program in Pathum Thani, Thailand. Did I say Pathum Thani? Kapit ka. Where his research interrogates whether EPR-driven formalization delivers a just transition for the informal workers who have always been the backbone of material recovery. He is also a master trainer for TESTA's Solid Waste Management Operations Training Regulation and a consultant on waste systems and circular economy programs across the Philippines and the ASEAN. For Siege, the circular economy only closes the loop when the people at the base of the chain are genuinely part of it. Let's give it up for Engineer Siege Razon. Our next panelist is a staunch advocate for environmental sustainability and a local chief executive who believes that a green local environment unit is a competitive local government unit. Mayor Cynthia Falcoleto Fortes of the Municipality of Barcelona, Sorsogon, brings a diverse background to her role. As a lawyer, she worked as public prosecutor in Manila and Quezon City, while also teaching in law schools, and as presiding and executive judge of the City Trial Court in Sorsogon City. Currently, she serves as a National Vice President for Internal Affairs of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, and is now on her third term as mayor, upgrading Barcelona in a charming and progressive community. Mayor Cynthia is a Civil Service Commission's 2025 Most Outstanding Government Worker for Bicol Region and 2026 CSC Gawad Pag-asa Regional Qualifier. With integrity, competency, and character as a bedrock, Mayor Cynthia has elevated governance standards, making Barcelona a benchmarking destination for local governments and other functionaries, and a choice heritage tourism spot. Her forward thinking and collaboration shaped Barcelona's branding and thematic development, bringing equipped facilities to communities and better services to her townspeople. To spotlight her extensive advocacy and legislative work, Mayor Cynthia will share Barcelona's alignment with Sorsogon's broader provincial initiatives, promoting resource recycling through community-level economic loops for agritourism and plastic waste recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, please give me a round of applause for Mayor Cynthia Falcoleta Fortes. Our fourth panelist is Ms. Marilyn Malonzo Malabanan, Supervising Environmental Management Specialist and Head of the Land Management Division of the City Environment and Natural Resources Office from the City of San Fernando, Pampanga. Ms. Malabanan is a BS Civil Engineering graduate with Masters in Public Administration at the University of the Assumption in Pampanga. She has represented local government units at the Sustainable Development Environmental Management Program at training in Singapore, sponsored by the Singapore Environment Institute back in 2010. In addition, she was also the representative at the Enhancement of Solid Waste Management Capacity Advanced Planning and Policy in Japan, sponsored by the Japan International Cooperation Agency. Recognized by the United Nations Secretary General's Advisory Board, the City of San Fernando is currently part of the top 20 cities towards zero waste. Applauded for the increased waste diversion in the last decade and their community-based waste management initiatives. With years of government experience in environmental management training and local solid waste management capacity building, Ms. Malabanan will share more information on San Fernando's citywide circular approach that earned them their international recognition. Please give a round of applause for Ms. Marilyn Malonzo Malabanan. Our youngest panel in this roundtable, Mark C.J. Donesa, is currently a graduating electrical engineering student at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He currently serves as the e-waste project's overall co-head, specializing on the organization's logistics, publicity, and event handling. The e-waste project, or TEP, has championed responsible electronic waste management and circularity in communities and universities across the Philippines. This youth and volunteer-led non-government initiative has been at the forefront of a decade-long awareness program addressing the environment hazards of improper e-waste disposal. As one of the heads of TEP 14, CJ will talk more on how their collaboration across sectors and communities help close the loop on e-waste. Their work at the e-waste project places the Philippines closer to a truly circular electronics economy. Please welcome Mark C.J. Donesa. And last but not the least, we have the Honorable Isaias Orsan Ubana II. He is the incumbent mayor of the municipality of Lopez, Quezon Province. He is also the Assistant National Treasurer of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines. He leads the municipality of Lopez 12 TEQ project, or I2 TEQ project, allowing sustainable technology transfers and agricultural waste reduction in Lopez. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Ubana. To moderate this afternoon session is our chairman, Mr. Guillermo Luz. Bill.
Okay, thank you and good afternoon to the panel. So today's format's different from our usual lab format. So for the Co+Lab, it's more a discussion with our panelists so we can go more deeply into their projects and their advocacies. And we'll open the floor, of course, to questions from here or from our Zoom or Facebook audience. So let me start with Ivana. Okay, first question. So we talked a lot about the importance of behavioral change. So it starts with the individual, and your work deals with a lot of these challenges of behavioral change. Surveys are showing that about just under 2/3 of Filipino families frequently sort, and maybe 40% are sort of inconsistent with the sorting of garbage. And so my first question, of course, is how do we influence behavior to shift more for sorting? And I'll add a second question, which is really our frustration as people who sort, is why when they pick up the garbage, they put it all back together again anyway. So why are we sorting when the garbage collectors are mixing them all up anyway? They should reinforce what we're doing, right? Sorting, and they should continue with the sorting. So Ivana, let me toss that question to you.
Thanks,
questions.
Bill, for posing a question and answering it at the same time. But I guess to start off, I'd like to congratulate Liveable Cities for having such a diverse panel. We don't normally have panels that are diverse, so thank you to Liveable Cities for having that. But yes, Bill, so I think, and Migs, I'm not sure if you're able to flash the systems map that I shared with you. If we're talking about waste segregation at source, the very first thing that we need to understand is how to simplify the overall waste and resource system. This is a circularity systems map that is based on the Global Plastic Action Partnership, that is also being analyzed by the Philippine National Plastic Action Partnership. So the answer, Bill, like I said, is what you already said, which is that if we want people to segregate at source, people need to know where the waste will go. Why do we need to make the effort to first have different bins, to have different segregation bins, and then actually make the effort to put the paper here, the recyclables here, biodegradable or hindi nabubulok in another bin, and toxic waste in another bin, and then the rest of the other waste in another bin. So people need to understand, people need to have the visibility over the entire system, appreciation for the entire system, so that they will feel motivated, because the motivation is essentially being able to feel what they know. So you would only make the effort and really take the extra effort to segregate if you understand where your waste will go. And maybe if you don't mind, Bill, I want to ask the audience, who among here segregates at home? Great job, I guess, because this is a circular economy panel. So, but yes, we've done grassroots, LGU level, barangay level stakeholder consultations. And what you said, Bill, was exactly the pain point. Magsisegregate nga ako sa bahay, pero nakita ko yung hauler, in the end, pagsasama-sama rin lang naman nila, bakit pa ako magsisegregate? So they have initial motivation, but in the end, when they see that the system does not work, they're going to revert to their old ways. So the answer is really having a systems appreciation, simplifying this very complex map, and having visibility over where the waste will end.
Thanks. I'll go back to that motivation question later on, because I guess the key here is how to keep people motivated, right? So I'll go back to that later. Let's go to sort of community level work. Siege, you're doing 150 plus barangays in NCR and Bacolod. I mean, a among all the tons of waste we generate per year, the recovery range is quite wide. It's, as 40 to 85% recovery. So what's the partnership model that works best from your experience in barangays? Which work best, and why isn't it propagated among more barangays, for instance?
Yeah, but maybe that's a really good question because we're now talking about partnerships. But maybe I'll ask Migs to pull up what Ivana is actually doing such a great job with. So if you guys will notice the slide of Ivana, if you put numbers in it, you will be able to appreciate it more, because now we will be talking about if I will segregate, if the collectors will collect it separately, where does it go? Can the facilities handle it? All right. So let me put that first. And my question, second question, since Ivana asked, is who amongst you are segregating? May I know anybody here who knows their scheduled waste collection? Okay, fewer hands. It means that even if we are segregating, if you're not aware of when the schedule of the designated collection is, then there is definitely a disconnect even if we do the segregation at source. Because now, and this is coming from experience working in a waste management company. Sometimes even if we say no segregation, no collection, I will put it this way, no? Kunin mo na to, no? Kunin mo na to. Aawayin din natin yung nangongolekta. Because we don't want waste in our backyard, right? Segregated or not segregated, most of the time, people have this notion that, unsegregated, segregated waste is still waste, right? So with the partnerships that we are doing in BEST, we're actually looking at 3 levels of, there are 3 layers in making the partnership work. Number 1, definitely, there should be governance, LGU policy and funding. Number 2, there is private sector design when it comes to logistics. And then number 3 is, this is where the magic happens. So I'm happy to see that people here are segregating. We'll be happier to see that at least some of us already knows when is the proper, collection time. But definitely in terms of incentivizing or making people realize that there is value in their waste. Because if we keep on looking at waste that it's basura, even if we keep on saying there's this famous may pera sa basura, and I will always say kulang yon. May pera sa basura basta segregated, properly collected, at properly managed. Kasi bitin we're talking about circularity, loops, and systems, but we're usually doing the first part, but we're not looking at the whole system. And I think you mentioned earlier about systems approach. So this one is a really good job. If we can look at this more, this is very scientific actually, parang waste mass flow analysis na to, if you put some numbers. But basically, the 3 should be there. There should be governance, environmental awareness from the social component, and definitely we have to look into the environmental impacts also of our actions.
Okay, thank you, Siege. Let's focus now on the LGU level. What's happening on the ground in our cities and municipalities? And let me start with Mayor Cynthia here. Tell us a little bit about the practices in Barcelona, Sorsogon, and how you tied it into an agritourism perspective. Maybe you can tell us, and what are the success indicators that you have for your town?
First and foremost, when it comes to local government units, it is so important to contextualize things, because not all LGUs are created equal. different capabilities, different amount of resources, and different absorptive capacities. Okay. In the case of Barcelona, Barcelona used to be 5th class, now it's 4th class municipality. I don't really claim whole credit for that, because there was this law that made possible the reclassification of the income class of all LGUs, and it applies across LGUs across the country. Anyhow, going back to the question, there are a lot of things that we do when it comes to waste recovery. First, in agritourism, agricultural waste like byproducts also like coconut water. We, with the help of DOST, with the technical help from DOST and financial help from that agency, cocoa water becomes cocoa vinegar. And also, when it comes to this dried flowers, Cosmos soap, we turn it into hand soap. Yeah, hand soap. It's there, I think. Also, the coconut shells, yung sanyog po ito, yung bao. Bao po. And we transform it into artisanal products. And you can find that in the souvenir shops and also trade fairs like we do there at Shangri-La. Yeah, we participate in those kind of trade fairs and also mega mall, big markets becomes accessible to bigger markets. So there is that process being done by LGUs. And a lot of skills training are cascaded to the barangays. But again, it boils down to behavioral, because not all those that the LGUs train, they persevere into really creating products. Some they do, and the LGUs usually the LGUs hire these people, or either hire them, engage them, or they receive cash assistance for initial capitalization, or the LGUs just let them be. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm curious. So great products. Did the city, did the LGU help develop the products and then train people how to produce the products?
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
because with the research and development efforts, product development efforts of the LGUs, and also in partnership with the Negosyo Center, DTI Negosyo Center, skills training are conducted. Also, we test that. Yes.
And then you help invest and provide some startup capital for the businesses as well.
Yes, for businesses, for like women's groups, those who take interest after training, because not everyone persevere.
Okay, that's great. I mean, we should find out where to find these, where to shop for these products. I think that's a good example of turning, nature's waste into products.
Yes, sir. And there is a bigger picture, because these days tourism has become experiential. Like they can participate in the products are created. Yes, so it has become immersive tourism. Yes.
Oh, great.
And
okay.
the products are curated as well and becomes part of the identity of the place of Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. That's a great example. And now when I go shopping, I'll look around for products from
Thank
Barcelona
you.
or Sorsogon.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Malabanan, let me go to ask you about San Fernando. So San Fernando and Iloilo, it turns out, are just among two of the cities on the UN's inaugural 20 Cities Towards Zero Waste program, just announced early this year. Can you tell us how that came to be, what criteria was used, and how did you achieve such a status from the UN?
Isang maganda at makakalikasang hapon po sa ating lahat. First, on behalf of the City Government of San Fernando, Pampanga, headed by our City Mayor, Vilma Balia Caluwag, and our City Environment and Natural Resources Officer, Raymond B. Del Rosario, we would like to take this opportunity to thank Liveable Cities for considering San Fernando to share its best practices. So San Fernando was recognized by the UN as one of the inaugural 20 Cities Towards Zero Waste, based on demonstrated and measurable achievements in waste reduction, resource recovery, policy implementation, financial sustainability, social inclusion, and community participation. So the indicators highlighted in the submitted includes waste diversion rate of 80.69%, and then the average household segregation source compliance rate is at 93%, reduction of waste collection and disposal costs by 50% because of recycling, and the formalization of waste workers into an organized association, citywide implementation of materials recovery facility. All our 35 barangays have materials recovery facility. And then the implementation of the plastic-free ordinance and the no segregation, no collection policy, and the strong partnership with Mother Earth Foundation and community stakeholders. The city's circular economy approach focuses on keeping materials in use through waste segregation, composting of organics, recycling through barangay MRFs. So yung city po, we focus on waste recovery and livelihood.
So I was looking, very impressive numbers, the waste diversion, very low rate. I'm reading here it's 12% in 2012, but you were able to bring it up to 81% in 2018 with plans to go to 91% this year. No? So what did the city do to drive such high numbers for waste diversion? What did you do to encourage people to get involved in the program across the city? Because you're not a small city.
Yes, actually the 91% is the target and the submitted 10-year solid waste management plan. The city was not able to achieve that 91%. So our highest waste diversion is 80.69% in 2018. So before, nung wala po yung materials recovery facility, hindi pa po alam ng tao yung waste management, yung nare-recover po namin is 12% only. The basis is yung kinakokolekta po ng garbage collection unit ng San Fernando ng government. And then comes RA 9003, so widespread education on the policies of RA 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, where we decentralized solid waste management and empowered barangays. By empowering barangays and giving them incentives in the construction of MRFs and giving them collection equipment, so they were able to implement segregation at source at households. So from there, since nagkaroon na po kami ng records from barangays on waste collected and diverted, kaya po na-compute namin na tumaas po yung aming waste diversion by 80.69%. So yung po assistance and collaboration with barangays, I think yun po yung naging susi para makuha po namin yung highest waste diversion. Although bumababa siya minsan, pero at least nandun pa rin yung system, hindi po naalis yung system.
That's great. That's really impressive. So you decentralized and then you started installing materials recovery facilities all over the city. No? Okay. Let me move over to Mayor Sani. Maybe tell us a little bit about your experience with circular economy and waste management in Lopez.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me here. Please excuse my bedroom voice. In Quezon, it's very hot and it's wet in the evening, so sorry for the voice. I would not be able to share much about circular economy, I'm sorry to say. But I have a lot to share with waste management. First of all, let me put some context to my discussion. Lopez po is a first-class municipality. We have the 95 barangays, the most in the province of Quezon. My town is a university town. We are host to 4 state universities, PNU, PUP, TUP, and a branch of LSPU. So at one given time, during daytime, we have about 10,000 students. That's the reason that drives our economy. So you have students coming from nearby provinces and other municipalities. So we have a lot of garbage. So my problem is that Republic Act 9003 is not realistic. It does not give us a good elbow room. So what I do is that I employ a carrot and stick strategy. I reward the barangays in the poblacion who are good in collection. I impose very strict fines, and I file cases in court to those people who do not segregate. Yes, not because really people are difficult to convince, because you have problems with culture, you have problems with people saying that they don't have trash bins to segregate. You have barangay officials that are afraid to lose elections when they, offend people about waste segregation. So it's a work in progress. I'm very sorry that we cannot, circular economy to us is on a very initial stage. If I may just share, we have products also like Mayor Cynthia, like pamaypay, that's your local native fan. So that's a byproduct of our agricultural production, and also baskets, native baskets that we produce. But still, we are still a very good work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you. We've talked about waste segregation. I'm curious now for the LGUs. Do you supply the bins for waste segregation, or are you expecting households to supply their own bins for segregation?
Well, that's a good question, and I've good experience to that. This is my 6th term as municipal mayor of our town. I've been mayor for the last 18 years, since 1998. During my 2nd term, I opted to buy trash bins, 3 colors as provided by the law. And then I went into the provincial government as a provincial board member. The next guy who came after me thought it best to remove all the trash bins. So when I came back as mayor, I looked for them, and it was in the households already, being utilized as water refilling storage facilities. And now my problem is that the barangays are not able to collect because they don't have garbage trucks. So just recently, I was able to convince our Sanggunian to allocate 52 million. I will be buying 1 garbage truck for each barangay. But I told them that after that, I will sue you in the Ombudsman and in the Sangguniang Bayan if you fail to collect. If that is the only reason why you cannot collect, I'll give you. And that costs the municipal government 52 million pesos just so that they can collect. I forgone with the garbage bins because of my experience. Bahala na yung mga taong bumili. Thank you.
Sir, Barcelona LGU does not provide garbage bins, but we focus on segregation at source and composting. Like there is this executive order that I crafted and I issued, partnering this long-running initiative, circular initiative of the LGU. I called it 3Ps, because 4Ps is so popular, so that it will become popular to the community. So it's 3Ps, plastic palit pagkain. The national government has this program now, Walang Gutom. And it's a big waste generator program because they give monthly food items to beneficiaries. Like in my town, there are 170 beneficiaries. And every month they receive food items. All, sachet, plastic bottles, plastic packaging. So I had to think of some ways, creative ways to inculcate in them that, hey, you are generating waste. Hindi lang po pagkain ang binibigay sa inyo, may kasama pong basura. So help me manage your basura. So there is this executive order being implemented, and the Walang Gutom program by the national government, it has this included the 3K sessions. They call it 3K sessions. It's sort of educational, I think. They counsel also the beneficiaries of Walang Gutom program to like stay healthy, you know. Kaso nga po, binibigay nila mga nakapack lang naman, it's not fresh food. So siguro kaya may kasama pong pagtuturo kung paano maging healthy. Anyhow, so it's a creation of the local government unit to partner with that program also of the national government. So it's 3Ps and Walang Gutom partnership together. Yeah.
That's a good insight. You know, you're receiving food, but you're also receiving waste. Yeah, actually, I'm engaged in the humanitarian field. You know, and we have to provide relief sometimes after a typhoon or an earthquake, and we're very conscious of how much waste that we put in there. So, for instance, we try not to supply water through small bottles because it just generates too much waste. So yeah, that's something that people are not conscious of. Ivana, you were gonna say something?
You know, 'cause since we're talking about bins, one of the programs that we have right now in the whole behavior change and circular economy, it's called Bins to Habits. If you look back at the systems map that was flashed earlier, there's the upstream, midstream, and downstream. And it is a very complex system. But the question that we had was, which of these nodes that if you move it will also trigger movement and development in the other nodes in the system. And we really pinpointed collection and sorting, which is the segregation, right? Waste segregation at source. Makes if we can move to the containerization strategy. Sorry. Makes if we can move to the containerization strategy. So as part of this is an analysis that we did after doing barangay level stakeholder consultations with HOAs, youth leaders, barangay leaders. And Mayor, we talked about this, right? This does not follow the law, but this is a recommendation that we have. If we really want waste segregation at source, whether it's in your office, in your community, in your households, one, we need to simplify how we're encouraging people to segregate. Colors, icons, shorter action-oriented words, and words that show the entire system would get people to move. If we look at how the bins are being segregated right now, it's nabubulok, di nabubulok. I think the nabubulok part is pretty clear. It's biodegradable, it's compostable. Pero yung di nabubulok, what happens there is you're mixing waste with value, recyclables, with waste without value, those that are supposed to go to the landfill. And so we also spoke to stakeholders and experts in New York and Singapore, and this is their basic. They have fundamental or basic bins that they follow, those that can be recycled, and sometimes they have different bins. No, there's recycled paper, there's recycled glass, there's recycled PET plastics. But basically it's save what can be recycled because that has value. And then there's the biodegradable or compostable bin. And then the rest of the waste that will eventually go to the landfill. So yeah, this is I think what we also realize in our consultations is that we don't really have a containerization strategy. And this strategy is important, and it's also hinged on the understanding of your value chain, because there is no one size fits all when it comes to containerization. Right? We need to understand the type of waste that each locality has, whether it's residential. So what we don't have right here is toxic waste, for example, or e-waste, right? So, but again, it's really understanding your value chain and then coming up with a containerization strategy based on the value chain. And that's what is going to move the behavior, and that's going to be the basis for behavior change.
Next. Going back to San Fernando, do you supply bins? I mean, whether this form that Ivana's showing or whatever the law provides.
No, in the city of San Fernando, we do not supply bins. So since we empower the barangays, it is the barangays that implements in the household the segregation at source. So it is the households that provide, example, colored plastics for the segregated waste. And then each MRFs of the barangays should have a composting facility. And we also have a centralized composting facility in our Central Materials Recovery Facility in Lara. So the DOST donated a composting facility in 2001. And until now, nag-operate pa rin po yung composting facility namin. So we process the biodegradable waste of our 2 public markets, the slaughterhouse, and some nearby barangays. So we process the biodegradable waste into compost. So some of the compost products are donated to farmers of the city, and some naman po are sold at 350 pesos per 40 kilos sack. So yun po yung ginagawa namin. And then at our Central Materials Recovery Facility, we only accept segregated residual waste. So yung mga biodegradable waste, it is the barangay that process them. At yung recyclable waste naman po, napupunta po dun sa mga waste workers nila as additional income.
Okay. Let's move to CJ. You deal with a very different type of waste, electronic waste, but presumably requires special handling. And now, if we go around the population, virtually everybody has at least one device, right? At least a phone. Some people have 2 phones, and some people will have a phone or 2 phones and a laptop. Okay, so that's a lot of potential electronic waste, and that market is growing. How do you see the disposal side of things? Is there a way to collect them all to convert them back into something of value?
Okay. So for the collection of electronic waste, so there's a lack of awareness to the public on how to properly dispose these kinds of items. Since, for example, a dead battery can, a household don't know where to put a dead battery. Almost everyone, they will throw it on their own trash bin and will end up in the landfills. And that would cause a lot of e-waste, cumulative e-waste on our landfills. So right now, for the collection part of these kinds of waste, we educate the public and especially the youth and other sectors in our community for the importance of proper e-waste management. And with that, on our end, we also provide collection bins and collection drives. And after that, we give them to our DNR accredited partners, which properly handle this kinds of waste, so that there's a circularity. So these accredited partners, they are the ones that provide the necessary steps to start or to end or to loop back the circular economy. And
so what's the process here? You collect, let's say we dispose of batteries or old digital products, devices. You can somehow reprocess and extract something of value from that waste. Am I correct? You can extract metals, for instance, and valuable products from that waste. Is that the way it goes?
that's the way it goes. So the waste that we collected, there's materials that can be recovered from it,
Right.
like the metals, the other and other stuff like gold, silver, and all that shit, and all that stuff, and the electronics part now. So on our end, the e-waste project, we only collect electronic waste. So we don't process the waste itself. We are not the one recovering it.
Right.
We're just the one handling the collection, and we transfer it or we give them to the DNR accredited and recyclers.
Yeah. Can they be are they reprocessed in the Philippines, or do they have to be sent exported abroad to a reprocessing facility?
Actually, we don't know if they're exporting it, but we know that the extraction of or the recovery of the materials are happening here in the
Are happening here.
Philippines.
Okay.
Bill?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe just to
Siege.
fill in some of the details for CJ here, because they've been working with some of our partners also for e-waste. So we have a common partner. So what they are addressing, the gap that they are addressing, is that most of the e-waste, for example, in facilities like this, are you really have a contracted collector, transport, storage, and disposal, right? So those are the big, like massive volumes of e-waste or other types of hazardous waste in general. So what they are getting is actually from households or from people like us, like the one-offs, yung ayaw na talaga, hindi na talaga gumagana yung on button, right? And the partner that collects, number one, if it still is usable, they can refurbish it. Okay. And then for some items that really do not have any value at all, they are now at the position to actually treat that first before it goes to a disposal facility. So it has to be treated first. And then for some of the items, let's say if they would need to recover the precious metals, I'm not sure if they have it here, but for if my memory serves me correctly, most of that happens outside of the country. So that's for the e-waste part. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned it's hazardous. So I'm assuming that there's some sort of a toxic waste produced here. So maybe you can tell us in the audience, what's the harm of just indiscriminately throwing away and not properly disposing? Because I think maybe we don't realize as ordinary citizens what the danger is to all of us from a health point of view if we just indiscriminately throw away these products.
Yeah, so at least for example, for refrigerators, no, medyo malawak po yung e-waste, no. We have this called refrigerants. If you just open it, babaklasin lang natin and it gets exposed, apart from the environment's harm, kahit sa physical, sa health natin, malaki ang impact nun. Next, I would go for the more common, that these waste, usually aircon, washing machine, kasama po yan, no, sa e-waste, not just the phones and the batteries, that kapag sinunog natin, usually, let's say wires, some of the practices na nakikita natin would be to recover those copper wires, susunugin po yung plastic para makuha yung bakal. The fumes in itself, risk, maliban pa sa iyo na kung ikaw ang nagsusunog sa pamilya mo, sa environment. But more than that, I think even dun sa pagbaklas pa lang, there are some materials there, depende pa sa edad nung binabaklas natin, you know, that may be harmful. We don't even know the materials passport, if I should say, of all of the electronic waste that has been produced here in the country, or we may have imported also. So those are some of the hazards. So physical, environmental hazard, if we also don't treat it properly in a contained area or in an area that has, you know, environmental kumbaga parameters checked. And then definitely we should be abiding also by law na dapat when we transport these waste, we should have talaga permits. So it's not just like municipal waste na you collect, dalhin mo dito, you can just go around and move around. It really has to go through certain permitting for that one.
So yeah, it's a very complex system that we need to look at, no? Going back to the circular economy, at its simplest, we're taking waste and converting it to products like in Mayor Cynthia's place. Mayor Cynthia, I was going to ask you, are you able to scale the production, or the community? In other words, is the whole community, the whole town involved, or is it still at a very, very small scale?
No, not yet. Not that big yet. Not as yet. Mhm. What is? But we have this farm school. The LGU established a farm, and first it is DOT accredited as a agritourism farm site, and also as a learning site for agriculture, and also as TESDA accredited school. And in that school, in that farm, there is a nice practice there, waste recovery, because the program accredited by TESDA is OAP, Organic Agriculture Production. So the waste in the farm, the agri-waste in the farm, and also the neighboring areas like Purok, it belongs to one Purok, consisting of comprising of 25 households. So the waste, they are produced, processed, and becomes fermented plant juice or fermented organic fertilizer. So it's a good example of a circular practice. Yes.
Ivana?
I really like your question on scalability. And I think this is where the obligated enterprises affected by within the EPR law would really be able to play a role if the LGUs of the LCEs would be able to enter into partnerships with the obligated enterprises, because they have targets, right? We're looking at 80% by 2028. I know there is a bill also recently filed in Congress that seeks to mandate 100% collection rate. Siege, I know you're laughing because the infrastructure isn't really there for 100% collection at that. But my point here is that private sector and public sector really need to be able to collaborate with each other. And I know that there are priorities and policies and preferences that refrain public sector and private sector from working together, but coming also from private sector and now working with public sector, we really only be able to adopt an efficient circular economy and waste management if we're able to close the gap between public sector priorities and private sector priorities. That's where scalability will come in.
You mentioned obligated companies, right? So that's very defined in the EPR law. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about who or what are the obligated companies. But I guess the spirit of the law should really be go beyond obligated companies, because I mean it's really dealing with a waste problem to begin with. Not everything will get into that loop back into a circular economy and turn into a new product. But we still have a simple waste management issue to deal with anyway, no? But anyway, tell us a little bit about who or what types of companies are the obligated companies.
So these companies are the producers of plastic. So EPR right now, at least in the Philippines, is limited to plastics, rigid and flexibles. But so the companies that produce plastics, that put out plastic into the market, are obligated, are mandated to retrieve the post-consumer plastic waste. In other countries, this is expanded to other types of waste. And I agree, Bill, it shouldn't be limited to OEs, to obligated enterprises. It's just that would be your low-hanging fruit. If you're looking at, if you already have programs on the ground, if you want that to scale, you align it with companies that are mandated to invest in these types of programs. That would really close the loop. I've spoken to some NGOs in the provinces where don't have the numbers, but if we're looking at an 80% retrieval by 2028, the targets for their programs are at 5%. So you see the gap just in terms of understanding what needs to be retrieved. Siege, I'm sure you have.
Yeah. So maybe just to add on how will we tick off which ones are obligated or the obliged enterprises. These producers have to be like 100 million assets above. So they are like really big corporations, right? Big companies. And then maybe just to define also, because RA 9003 is definitely for LGUs and 11898 is to share with everybody where the junction is, no? So EPR, RA 9003 is waste diversion from the landfills, right? So because LGU is mandated to collect, to have it, disposed of, EPR is waste diversion from the open environment, which means that those that are not collected by LGUs, the private sector should be able to capture at least some of those. So it really is that, just like what Ivana said, it's a junction between the LGU and private partnership to actually make this work in a systems thinking point of view. So that's just what I wanted to add and wanted to clarify for now.
Let me open up the floor to some questions for those of you who may have questions for our panel. Oh, and I have some questions from Zoom. Okay, before I go to the question, let me just add one more item. I want to go back to this whole thing of motivation, sort of incentive is one. You mentioned intrinsic. Do people just, on their own do it? Or as Mayor says here, he's got a carrot and stick approach. He's going to sue people. I was going to ask you, Mayor, have you won any lawsuit yet against the barangays? You're about to file it for giving them a garbage truck but not collecting. Yes. Okay, so a failure to collect, and it's ombudsman, huh? Yeah, they're barangay officials. So yeah, so you've got kind of really two approaches here, no? When we were kids, when I was a kid, we used to be paid actually to return, yung bote, di ba? Beer bottles, soft drink bottles. Yeah, we used to be paid to return it. That system really seems to have kind of disappeared a little bit. But what works best? Is it sort of incentive or punishment or enforcement or both? What's been the best motivator?
I don't think we can dichotomize motivations. I think it needs to be both and more. I think it needs people need to understand incentives, and we're not talking about fiscal necessarily, fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, economic and non-economic incentives, but fines. People do need to be fined. We need social accountability. This is how people operate in Singapore, for example, in markets like Singapore, where if I don't segregate, and this is lived experience, if I don't segregate, my neighbor is going to stare me down until I segregate. That's social accountability, right? We understand that we need to operate in a society with certain rules, and so we need to be accountable for each other. I know in the Philippines, the culture is very different. Pag sinita kita, magagalit ka sa akin, away na tayo forever. So maybe that does not work. But there is another way to do it, which is instead of sisitahin kita, I'll help you, let me help you. This is how we do it together. But I think that whole social accountability is important. And yes, you talked about intrinsic motivations. I do think it depends on which stakeholder group you belong to. For example, I have a 6-year-old, he's a kindergartner. Whenever we go to the beach, he would pick up trash from the sea. Why? Because he loves the turtles. So I think it depends on, there's a whole menu of motivations. You need to choose which ones would touch your heart.
Yes, I would like to add, if I may. So in the city of San Fernando, we have this City Ordinance 2005-02, or the Materials Recovery Facility Program, wherein all 35 barangays of the city should have their own MRFs and every phases of the subdivisions. So 2005 nag-start yung ordinance, but then one of the problems of the barangays and subdivisions is that they don't have budget for the construction of MRF. So in 2014, what the city government did is provided incentive of 150,000 worth of budget to all barangays for the construction of their MRFs. And then the city also provided 50,000 worth of construction materials for subdivisions, and also provided at least 2 collection equipment, that tri-bikes or push carts, para naman po makollect even yung mga eskinita for 100% collection. And then what the city of San Fernando did, every year we conduct this awarding best practices for barangays to recognize those barangays that have best practices of solid waste management. Like for example, one of the awards is the best MRF, best barangay, best kagawad and environment, so that we can encourage the barangay to do what is needed in the implementation of RA 9003, at para na rin magaya ng ibang barangays, yung mga low-performing barangays, na pag nakita nilang awarded sila, pag naging masipag ka pala or nagawa mo to, diba, ma-recognize ka pala ng city. So, since 2012, I think, hanggang ngayon, we have this yearly recognition of barangays on their best practices on solid waste management. And then we were also privileged that in 2017, the provincial government provided all 35 garbage trucks to all barangays for their collection.
Okay, so yeah, what I like about the system that you have is that it really kind of spreads out and decentralizes the effort among the barangays. But then you're able to monitor it and recognize and award, the best in performance, which I think kind of works out really well, because I think people do respond quite positively to this type of recognition. See, there's a question here coming from Zoom. In a circular economy framework, where are the informal waste workers? How do they fit in?
Really good question, and I'm so happy that you asked that, Because most of the time when we talk about circular economy frameworks, meron niyang parang roadmap na, no? Nakalagay na doon ano yung mga dapat gawin, higher priority to refuse creating waste, to reuse it, to refurbish it, this, and that. But basically, we are coming in waste management kapag halos wala nang may gusto ng item, di ba? For as long as may gamit pa ito, we cannot consider that item as waste, because halimbawa sa cellphone or in any type of waste, kapag ibibigay mo pa yan sa kapatid mo, may value pa yan, because unless ang regalo mo sa kapatid mo, itong basura, sa'yo na lang, congratulations, right? It's not like that, right? And the informal sector, let us face it, is the backbone of the waste management system for the longest time. And it has not been documented still enough for us to see the numbers. Because as of the moment, even the numbers that we're looking at, it's 1997 study, it's 1999 published, and up to now, our waste analysis and characterization studies are still not yet updated and collated on a national level. So where do they come in? In terms of policy, they have to be on the table, not as a participant, but really as somebody or as an entity na kayang mag-provide ng kanilang opinion at ibigay din ang kanilang role in the system. Definitely, it will be very difficult, and maybe sa mga nasa Zoom, I know hindi ko kayo nakikita, and some maybe tumataas ang kilay, but let's face it, if they are not here, do you even think we can get the basura out of our mga kinokolektahan? No? And even in the formal sector, there is still some form of informality there. Kanina, we were talking about garbage being collected, sinegregate ko, pagkakuha ng basurero, binalik din naman. But for those na hindi segregated ang basura, aren't they the ones also segregating inside the trucks? Right? So technically, the informal sector should come in. Nasa table po sila, no? They are part of it. In fact, they have the most efficient system in waste management. I cannot expenses are. Pero it comes at a cost that the informal sector is also, kumbaga, marginalized, walang social security, walang protection, etc. So in the circular economy framework, they have to be in the same table kapag nagdidiskusyon tayo ng strategy, hindi kapag tapos na yung strategy, tas sasabihin mo, uy, kasali ka dito uy, sumunod ka. No, it doesn't work like that. They have to be there sa table kapag nagde-decide tayo on what the strategies are because they have to be inside the system. That's my take on that one.
So, Siege, a follow-up question. Is there a calculation or a figure attached to the size of this sort of waste economy or garbage economy? I mean, is there a value, a peso value that's attached to it?
Ooh, the peso value is a very, very difficult number to spit, no? But maybe I can share with all of you, at least for e-waste, for example, at least 70 to 80% is taken care of by the informal sector. And I don't think that's far off when it comes to municipal waste. Some have already been organized. And if let's just say, I think there's around 15 million metric tons of waste per year. And let's just assume that 50% of it is going to the informal sector. And let's just put 1 peso na lang just to make math easy for me kasi ayoko na mag-compute ng marami pa. What? That's already 7.5 million kung piso lang siya. Assuming that is 100% collected. Assuming also that our generation quantities are correct. Assuming, so there's so many assumptions, no? But I guess what the point that I wanted to drive is that imagine that we are talking here in terms of circular economy framework and everything, but our data is still laglag. I'm so sorry, no? Laglag, wala. 1997, we're still at the foundational study of 1997. So yun, if the numbers will make sense, you can multiply it in any number that you want, that you feel is correct based on your assumptions. But at the minimum, it's around 7.5 million pesos, assuming 100% collected and 50% is coming to the informal sector. But definitely, it's not 1 pesos, and it's not 1 peso, and it's not 50%.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can I just really echo what Siege said? Siege and I have been working with each other, so forgive us. But the informal waste sector is the backbone of the Philippine circular economy. We do not have a circular economy without them. And I would even go ahead and say that they are the real experts of circular economy. So maybe the next time we have a forum like this, we should have a representative from the informal waste sector, because all the systems mapping and all that wax that we do is based on them. We get all our data from them. All the behavior change campaigns that we do, it's all from them. We just, put it in a presentable format, but it really is, they are the real experts of circular economy. So they really need to be at the core of the discussions.
Let me go to the LGUs. No? Do you just follow the national law, or do you have local ordinances which provide incentives or penalties for circular economy? Do you have to pass a local ordinance to supplement the national law?
In Barcelona, yes, we have ordinances enacted by the council, by the Sangguniang Bayan.
And these ordinances, are they more for providing incentives or more for providing penalties?
There are ordinances that provide for like anti-littering, for penalties, penal ordinances, we call that.
Right.
And there are incentivization ordinances, putting in funds for incentives, like the 3-piece program, which I mentioned earlier. The buyback, sort of buyback program.
Okay.
Yeah, for recyclable.
So in the
Fernando?
city of San Fernando, we have at least 6 ordinances under solid waste management, and they are more on penalties and not incentives. And all these ordinances are based on Republic Act 9003.
Okay.
So we issue city ordinance violation tickets to violators. So they have penalties. So yun po yung sa San Fernando.
Okay, so you're more punishment and enforcement oriented.
For Lopez Quezon, we have a comprehensive sanitation code, and it's a mixture of incentives and penalties. So it's a carrot and stick approach.
Well, in your experience, which has been more effective?
It seems that penalties would be more effective, imposing penalties. Like you have a sanitary citation ticket. Once you do not segregate, you have to pay the fine. So that's one major source of income for the LGU. Yeah, you pay fines. So we've even went further. You can pay fine digitally through GCash.
We are really we're a society in need of discipline, I guess. Huh? But I like the idea that you can pay on GCash. By the way, I mean you can make it efficient to pay your fine. Huh? It's very digital. Okay, CJ, going back to e-waste, maybe you can tell us a little bit about. Do you have collection? Your organization has collection points for e-waste, and what's the most sort of popular, most common form of e-waste that you collect these days?
So right now, our organization or the e-waste project has collection points within the University of the Philippines, specifically the engineering buildings, because there's an initiative of the College of Engineering Library that they provide bins to specific colleges in UP Diliman, and those bins are for electronic waste specifically. Right now, upon our collection drive, like for these past months and this past iterations, I guess, the most commons are the mobile devices, so and other like iPads, tablets, and all of other electronic devices that each and every one of us uses nowadays. So phones, laptops, and other electronic, I mean kitchen appliances also. They also give those things to they also donate those things to us.
Kitchen appliances. Okay, but I guess since it's university based, I would assume it's mostly digital devices, no phones and laptop type of devices.
For the smaller bins that we have, or the ones that are located within the engineering buildings, usually those are electronic devices. But we also get a lot of like refrigerators, washing machines, and other like printers and all of that. And we are the ones that like the one that will coordinate with us on how they will give it to us, because those big kind of big items, they're not fit for the bins that we provide. So there's an additional step for the recovery of those big items.
Okay. And does it work like cash back for trash project, or people just voluntarily give the waste?
So at the moment in the US project, it's not a cashback project. So we try to incentivize, but at the moment we're under the planning of how we can incentivize the donation. But for the previous iterations, it's all voluntary.
Okay. Siege, in your experience, you work with many barangays. Do you use a cashback type of program, and how effective are they?
Yes, so we are doing the trash to cashback program for different LGUs, definitely barangays. And the initial push why we do this is that so that LGUs will have a pop-up MRF, at least for the recyclables part. So it started in 2021, where of course people nasa pandemic pa tayo, no, mahilig tayong magbutbut na, itapon ang mga letters ng ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, etc. Mag-declutter, kaya baka si the e-waste project is already getting their aparador, joke lang, refrigerator, no. But really the incentivization is a good start, and I wouldn't say that incentivizing ng habang buhay will be the sustainable way of doing this, no? Because after the novelty is gone, I think what's most important or the important takeaway here is, like, for example, in Quezon City, once the barangays own the program or own the initiative, it really is different already, because now they see value on what they're doing. They know that it is not just on a personal level, but on a community level. And kumbaga, all the awards, all the recognition outside will just happen after meron na talagang following at follow through ng community. And I think the most important thing that I can't wait to see also is that even if magbago na ng leaders in the barangays, if the program still stands, then I think we have really done a circular movement in the community outside of the incentive. So, but right now, in terms of incentives, ang nangyayari is that kung may incentive, magtatanong, anong meron? Bakit may ganyan? So, curiosity, aka ang pagmamarites sa community, nakakahawa yan. So, pag natuwa, ano yan? Bakit may ganyan? Anong meron? So, we pick the brain and the marites of the communities for that one. And maybe just to tie it all up, I think we were talking about carrot and stick, ano ba talaga ang dapat, what is the best way? I think the best way to look at it on a per barangay level, or even on a regional or sa national level, is to look at the culture that we have. Because I've seen it also outside of the country. We almost have the same problems, similar problems, even similar numbers. But the culture is very different. You wouldn't believe it. People even went to asking monks to tell the people how to segregate. Because when the monks say it in another country, they believe it. So it's very cultural to go through waste management sa mga monk. I'm not saying we should go to monks here in the Philippines. Ha? All I'm just saying is that culture is very important in terms of localization, even incentivization, kasi may +1 daw, no? Pag nag-go ka sa heaven, no? Pag nag-segregate kayo. Something like that.
Going back to the sort of cash for trash programs, who provides the cash? The manufacturer or some other entity, or is it an LGU?
All right, so for trash to cashback, initially it's all best. So it's best funded. It's part of our CSR program. It's part of our crazy. Yung CSR, yung C yata doon is crazy social responsibility, no? No, not just corporate social responsibility. Because we're crazy enough to say, at tataya kami, that people can actually segregate. They can do it. They will do it. Provided that they see that there is infrastructure. Kaya kami may tent. And maybe, Megs, you can share the picture ng sa QC namin. Kasi dati tent lang kami doon, pero ngayon meron na kami talagang hub. But yes, we initially provided the incentive, the cashback. And then through EPR, our obliged enterprises are actually funneling some of their funds through the program so that they can collect post-consumer waste, no, from the communities mismo. Meaning that the ownership nung community na sila ay naglilinis, ito actually kanina lang yan, literal, this morning. No? So we go to communities, initially kami nagfo-fund, but other obliged enterprises also come in, and the local government units actually complement or supplement the incentives, because sometimes they create, halimbawa yung katulad kila Miss Cynthia, kung meron tayong parang challenge, basta na-reach nyo 5 kilograms in 1 month, may libre kayong bigas outside of the points pa. So it adds up. Now people are more encouraged to do this. People now see the tent, or now ito may circularity hub kami. na ito, unlimited, pwede akong makakuha ng points dyan, equivalent to cash value, no? Unlimited. So pag nakita ko na ngayon yung bote sa kanto, cashback yan. Environmental points yan. Akin na yan. Unlimited ngayon ang source ng revenue, no, sa community.
Thank you. So I have a question here about RA 9003. Mayor, I heard you mention that it's kind of outdated, not fit for purpose. Well, it was passed 25 years ago. So if you had a chance to update it, to amend it, any recommendations moving forward on that?
Yeah, thank you. A very good point. First, I'd like to subscribe to the idea of, what do you call that, ma'am? No, the destination. This destination of the garbage. The containerization strategy. Because people in the provinces, we get confused about the nabubulok at hindi nabubulok. So nabubulok, very clear. Something that you can recycle. The hindi nabubulok, it's altogether everything. Everything that is not nabubulok. However, the destination is different. The ones that you can actually put value, and those that can, that you throw to the landfill directly. So that's one very clear point. We need to clarify our kinds of garbage. Second, I think there's a problem with giving the obligations to the barangay officials, because the barangays are not capable to collect. They don't have money to hire people. They don't have, vehicles to collect garbage. It's somehow, I'm disconnected as to reality, because you're giving a responsibility to people na wala namang kakayahan to do it. So I suppose after 25 years, our Congress should revisit, review, and probably revise altogether and somehow get us close to reality as much as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor Cynthia, what's your view on that?
I concur to the view of Mayor Ubana that this law has to be revisited. It's about time to revisit the law.
Actually, in the city of San Fernando, we followed religiously what is implemented in RA 9003. So, sorry. Siguro what should be revised is the packaging materials. As per experience, we have this plastic-free ordinance, but the problem is the packaging materials, which are low-value plastics.
Yes.
And low-value plastics cannot be recycled anymore. It can be recycled, but as black garbage bag. After the black garbage bag, it cannot be recycled anymore. So the high-value plastics, because in reality, technically, plastics can be recycled if they are high value. Like in other countries, what they use as plastic packaging are high value, so they can be recycled. So, siguro yun po yung the best na pwedeng i-amend dun sa batas natin, yung paggamit ng recyclable products or high value products that can be recycled. Hindi yung tatapon na lang, kasi lahat ng mga plastics natin, like yung plastic sandbags, the packaging materials, all are low value plastics. Kaya ang nangyayari, lahat ng mga plastics napupunta sa waste stream na hindi na siya pwedeng recycle, kundi itapon na lang po.
So you've all mentioned the confusion in the classification, right? There are only two. So if you were to recommend how to classify waste, how many types of waste would you say there is that would be easy enough for us to remember how to segregate the waste? How many types?
Well, probably 3, based on the destination. One is those going to the landfill directly.
Okay.
Those that have value that you can recycle. And you use another time. And those that can be subject to composting. Okay. So at least 3.
3, okay. Others?
Yes, dun sa mga posters and flyers na pinamimigay namin sa mga households, 3 po talaga yung beans. At hindi lang po siya basta free beans, kundi color-coded din po siya with with label. Yan nga po for biodegradable, for recyclable, and for residual waste. So those biodegradable and recyclable waste are the diverted ones. And then the residual waste, yun na lang po yung parang isa-segregate further natin kasi meron na po tayong recyclables with potential ngayon na dati, tinatapon po siya sa mga sanitary landfills. Ngayon po, can be potential for recyclables like used beverage cartons, ganun. So yun po yung 3 pa rin po talaga na color-coded with label.
Okay. Bill, can I?
Yeah, sure. Go
Very
ahead.
short rejoinder. I was just thinking of the informal workers. Pag tinanong po natin yung basurero, ganun din ang segregation nila. Yung pagkain na i-compose, yung dadalhin sa basurahan, at yung tinatabi nila na pwede nilang ibenta.
That's a good point. So by destination, and actually that's their habit, right? As Siege was saying, and Ivana, they're the backbone of the collection system, actually. Ivana, you were going to say?
There's another reason for one is I think that's a really good point, no? Because again, our recommendation earlier on threes is really came from the informal waste sector also, but it's also how people think. People think in threes. In every speech, in every presentation, in every material, it's always 3 points. So it's the easiest thing to remember. It's human psyche to remember things in threes. One. The color coding is also important. We were recommended blue for recycled because blue is related to renewal, new things. Green for the planet, for composting. And then black because that's end of life. Kulang na lang lagyan ng skull dun sa black. But which leads me to my next point on iconography. Iconography is also really important. What are the simplest icons that we can put on each bin so that we do not have to think? Again, the goal is to make segregation intuitive. We don't have to think. Pagdating natin doon, alam natin dito yan, dito yan, dito yan. So yeah, I think, and the last one is action-oriented. And so instead of saying recyclable, for example, it's so many letters. So sa printing pa lang, medyo mas expensive na siya. But if you say recycle, which is action, recycle this, versus recyclable, which is a noun, we're also in terms of behavior, we're what's the word, hardwired to follow things when it's told, when it's an action, versus having to understand a technical term like recyclable or compostable.
So, but that leaves out, that's 3 types, that still leaves out e-waste though, right? So what do? We create a fourth category for
I
e-waste?
suppose e-waste means converting it to cash again or something.
That's
so
right, yeah.
We can even put peso there as a sign. So it goes with the
yeah,
sorry.
because there's a value behind that, right? I mean, you're reprocessing it to extracting something out of it, no?
Yeah.
Siege?
Maybe just to siguro ito yung e-waste na pinag-uusapan natin dito is more of the household hazardous, no, which actually falls into special waste when it's on municipal solid waste. And it goes to a different level when it's voluminous and it goes to another Republic Act for toxic and hazardous waste na. So for this one, we are actually in the move to make it simpler also even for e-waste because it's housed under, for example, special and hazardous waste, which involves a lot of other things, not just e-waste. It can be, like, for example, for clinics, it means special and hazardous waste would include your syringe, hospital grade, right? So marami pa doon sa isang part lang ng waste na yon. And if we put, let's say, another bin, ibig sabihin we're also be prepared, dapat by week kaming magkokolekta nakolektahin yon ng magkakasama and have a facility to actually process it or turn it into something, which leads to the point that, say, for example, we're talking about, oh, if we are like, how should I say, like Thanos, we are inevitable na mababago natin ang RA 9003 into, let's say, a better segregation sa harap. We also have to include that if we say, pag nilagay natin recycle, compost, and landfill, we should be able to really house all of those to be collected sa facilities that can match the quality and quantity of the waste that we will be collecting. Because I think the disconnect here is that people think when they segregate at a certain level, na kapag may planta or merong facility, tatanggapin na yun, wala nang reject doon. It doesn't happen that way. It has to be at a certain quality and quantity to make the economics work too, for the facilities to, kumbaga, sustain their operations, which I think makes it, how to say, I want to point out that waste management, though basurang pinag-uusapan, it is very technical po in one sense, that people start to, just recognize na, technical pala to, may science pala behind waste, no? There really is. There is also a social component to it. So ayun, for e-waste, ang problema is that it is also housed in a segment na marami pa siyang kasama. So if we will be talking about that, I think the reason why the e-waste project works very well is because it's very defined. E-waste na ang tatanggapin namin, no? It can even be more defined na yung like phones or those with screens lang yung tatanggapin. So I think what they're doing plus the 3 bins would be better than to have another bin that invites people to just put in all types of hazardous waste in it.
Yeah, in other words, don't mix it.
Don't mix
Yeah,
it.
don't mix it because there's a lot of toxic materials there, and maybe some are not recoverable. But clearly, we want to avoid those materials from going into landfills, I would assume, right?
Yes, and sa tingin ko lang, we have to look at it also realistically, as what Mayor said. If it is not going to the landfill, where does it go? Because if there's no other choice, I would rather put it in a landfill than in the open environment. Okay. If there are other options than landfilling, then by all means, let's do it. But if there are no other options, let me just recognize that part of the waste management hierarchy, the last resort po is landfilling and disposal. So it is not there because yun ang pipiliin natin. No, it's the last resort, just in case there are no other ways on top of it. No, so yun. So we would want it to go to the landfill, but not in the rawest form. There are processes to be done in the middle. If I collected, let's say, e-waste, that's why they are partnering with their partners, because they have to process those waste before nilang ma-landfill yun to immobilize it. They have to do the process in between. For clinics, it's also the same. Kailangan i-autoclave muna yan, parang isi-sterilize muna yan, bago yan dalhin din sa final resting place, na most probably landfill, pero may specific na cell for special waste. There is a specific area for it. So pwede pa rin siyang i-landfill, basta specific area at treated, hindi yung rawest form niya.
Now, I'm curious, what examples or lessons can we draw from other countries? For instance, the types of waste they have, do they categorize it, more simply or more categories? And other countries, I presume, might have EPRs. Is ours similar to the EPRs in other countries?
Yeah, for maybe just for the waste bins. Kasi pag tinignan niyo yung cellphone ko, punong-puno po to ng picture ng basurahan. Hindi po selfie, basurahan. Some countries are mostly like us, dalawa lang, no, dry and wet lang. Some are more advanced, and I think that the advancement comes from the habit of the people when they are already doing it. So maybe they started with 2, and then eventually dumagdag ng dumagdag. Some you wouldn't even believe, people have catchment para sa water or sa ice ng inumin. And people will actually do that. No? Dito sa atin, hindi yan. Ay, ayoko na magbukas yan. Kadiri, malagkit. Right? But there, they do it. And why do they do it? Because I waited para akong stalker sa isang mall in Asia. The people who are collecting the waste inside the mall, they also have segregated na trolley. Hindi nila pinagsasama sa isang trolley. So, ibig sabihin, people in the mall also see na hindi rin yan kinakamaya, naka-ano yan, nakatong yan, may PPE yan. So, what am I saying? The segregation in different countries varies. Nag-iiba depende on how advanced the people are already following. In Southeast Asia, surprise, surprise, we are the only one who has EPR. Okay, Southeast Asia. Okay. But it doesn't mean that they are not following. In fact, they are already following our EPR, or they will follow to have EPR. But in the other side of the world, yes, there is EPR. And mas intense yun because the number of bins, you wouldn't believe how many. 12. No? May picture. So para tayong bumalik sa pagkabata, pag korteng takip, ishoot mo sa korteng takip. Pag papel, rectangle, ishoot mo sa rectangle. So it varies depending on the culture also. They follow it because culturally they feel that they are morally obligated to do it. Social responsibility ko yun. But for others, as simple as wet and dry, may konting lagayan ng tubig or yelo, and hindi po umaapaw ang kanilang basurahan.
Yes po. So let me share din po, I've been to Singapore and Japan. So of course, the incineration. So yung pag-segregate nila is combustible and non-combustible. Yes, so ganyan po ito sa ibang bansa sa Singapore. But there is one prefecture daw sa Japan, although hindi kami nakapunta doon, wherein they segregate their waste into 20 or 20 plus categories. So what they do there is resource recovery and livelihood. So mismo po yung mga nakatira doon, yung mga households, they are the ones who segregate their waste sa kanilang tinatawag na MRF. And they are the only prefecture, I think in Japan, na walang incineration. Kasi for them, the best solid waste management is segregation at source, and then yun nga po, resource recovery and livelihood. At yung sinabi ni Engineer Siege, yung basurahan, yun din po yung kagandahan. Sa Japan, yung mga basurahan nila, yung bilog, kung saan tinatapon yung mga PET bottles, so then yung meron siyang maliit na ganyan, for papers, tapos yung parang square, yung pong mga residual waste. And pinakamaganda rin po sa Japan, discipline po yung mga tao na gusto rin namin sanang replicate sa San Fernando, yung CLEGO, yung Clean As You Go ordinance. Kung saan po, after you eat, ikaw mismo magliliquid dun sa pinakainan mo. And then ibibigay mo dun sa mga naglilinis ng utensils dun sa isang site. But then hindi mo siya basta ibibigay. Kailangan walang laman yung plato, walang laman yung baso, walang laman kundi baso, kutsara at plato lang ang ibibigay mo sa kanya. So pag meron siyang laman, lalabas yung cleaner, ituturo niyo sa'yo doon sa mga basurahan kung saan dapat itapon yung mga basura. So dapat ibigay mo lang sa kanya, wala nang laman yung inyong tray at yung mga utensils na ginamit mo. At yun po sana yung gusto namin i-replicate. Although meron ng mga cities sa Pampanga na meron ng CLEGO, hindi pa siya ganun kasi nga hindi na pe-penalize yung mga tao. At hindi mo siya mape-penalize, kundi yung business establishment yung ipe-penalize mo. Kasi sila yung magsasabi dun sa mga customers that we have CLEGO, that we should do this and do that. At tapos may area dapat for the CLEGO. Yun po yung mga nakita kong maganda sa ibang bansa, particularly in Singapore and Japan, na maganda sanang replicate dito sa Pilipinas.
Okay, wow, that's a big social, behavioral, and educational program to do that, no? But I guess it can be done, right? I mean, as you showed, it can be done. You mentioned monks earlier, Siege. So, I mean, because they are, essentially a figure of respect and authority. Do we have an equivalent or equivalents here in the Philippines who could play that role?
Feeling ko, and you might laugh sa sasabihin kong sagot. Pero feeling ko the likes of Cardo Dalisay will be something. No, not because ano ha. Kumbaga, okay, monks are respectful, very ano to no sa culture, sa faith, no? I can say the church, you know, but really aminin natin, Filipinos love pop culture so much. To the point na siguro pag sinabi rin ng BTS na mag-segregate kayo sa isang kanta, Filipinos will follow it. The reason why I'm saying this is because what I want to prove na point lang is that the culture of Filipinos, they really go to pop culture. More than faith, it's pop culture. Ang mga bata, pag nag-TikTok, iba na nga yung laro ng mga bata na ngayon, hindi ko na nga naintindihan kung anong laro nila. No? But, and in schools, let's say, I've been seeing also videos that teachers also go to TikTok trends and all of this so that people will be able, or so that their students will be able to relate to them more. So I just think that if here in the Philippines, we don't have any monks, I think the way I see it is that pop culture is very strong to the point na kaya ko lang sinabing Cardo Dalisay para Pinoy na Pinoy, you know, masang-masa. But really, any pop culture, pop icon in the Philippines can actually do this. And in fact, kung meron dyan, no, na gustong maging Mr. Basurero or Miss Basurera, I would definitely encourage you guys to also, you know, it's our attempt to also professionalize the waste industry and really show that a basurero can also be very clean, sanitized, mabango, pogi, maganda, no? So, sana naman, hindi naman siguro Cardo Dalisay, but, you know, any pop culture icon, I would suggest, Sir Bill.
Ivana?
Megs, I sent a Canva link on WhatsApp, just in case you can flash that. But while Megs is doing that, I think it's the Gen Z. Gen Z as an audience, we have one here, I think. Gen Yenny ka eh. Gen Y. They're already very eco-conscious. The problem is they operate within a system that does not work. If you put them in a city where there is a functioning system for circular economy, they will follow it. So I think Gen Z would be the way to go. That's the entry point into navigating this whole complex world. And just to, kasi like Siege, whenever I travel, it's all pictures of trash bins. So if we can just quickly go through it. So this is in Brazil. So you see here, that one is in Italy, and this is specifically for wine glass bottles. And this one compresses. Yes, very specific. This one compresses the different recyclables so that it's easier to transport. And this is in BGC. So there's residual waste and recyclable. So again, my issue here is that what is residual waste? Do people understand? For me, the number one rule is, can a kindergartner understand it? If they can, then yes. If it's technical terms like residual, let's rethink. And then the colors also makes a difference. So here, like black is recyclable. Whenever we containerize, sorry, this is, I know we're talking to LGUs here, so but this is the one other rule that I have is, what's the action that we want? It's to get people to recycle. So the color needs to follow that. What's the most appealing color? It's not black, right? So it's some other color, and our recommendation is blue because again, renewal. That. And trash bins need to be appealing. Who would, you know, even touch this trash bin? Sorry, meron yata. Sige, let's move on kasi may mga stickers. Non-biodegradable, biodegradable. So again, my issue with ang dami kong issues, pero my issue with non-biodegradable is you're mixing recyclables with non-recyclables. Next, wet and dry have the same issue. So the thing is, pag wet, what happens to a carton, like a food carton? Where do you put that? Not clear. Where do you put that if it's wet and dry? Wet. And then, so pag dry, so yun, may questions ako. Landfill, I think this one's in QC, UP, this is in UP Diliman. Landfill recycle. I think just a growth, an improvement area would be, the icons are great, right? But they're all mixed together. So you want to be able to just simplify, put it on the line, simplify the icon so that when you see it, it's right there. Here, kasi you need to, where do I put the chips? Like that. So madami pa yan, mga 100 images yata. So, but just to show several examples. This one is in New York, recycle and trash, super simple. Yeah. Oh, all right. So I'll end with this because this is connected to what you were saying about the wax. This is in Starbucks. And the reason that there's a liquid bin here is it's Starbucks. You have a lot of liquid waste. So then they put a special bin for liquid.
Thank you, thank you. Are there any questions here? I see a question back there, okay. Oh, two questions, okay. Let's go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ace Esmeralda. I'm from Bacolod, from Resilient PH. I've been raising my hands for the past 5 hours.
Sorry about that, Ace.
And I've been segregating my questions, and most of them decompose and self-destruct along the way. But I think one that survived is that the segregation is also not just cultural or something that we train the kids. It's also a function of real estate that is available. For example, I live in Bacolod. In my parents' house, we have a big yard. We can practically decompose a lot, no? Even the metal, the lata, we go throw them to our own landfill. So meaning, when you have an ample space, you can practice segregation. Now, living in Makati, you live in a condo, your real estate now is reduced to one trash bin. And to the point that my colored garbage cans or garbage plastic bins are useless. So my question is really for everyone, but specifically for Ivana and Engineer Rason, is that what are the statistics or the impact or the studies on the urbanization of the Philippines in terms of the impact to our segregation? Because like me here in Makati, we throw our garbage. If we segregate them, we throw them in one garbage chute, and then the collectors will just collect them. And then there's a question also, who punishes or what is the punitive actions against the residents or the people or the building if they don't segregate? Even if you have practiced segregation, the collectors will always combine them all. And nobody's watching them because they're doing it in the basement. So unlike in the barangays, you have the tanod who can monitor where you throw it. You don't have our neighbors. In the condo, your neighbors are all dead ma. You don't even know if you have a neighbor. Eh? No? So you throw your garbage secretly, discreetly, and kadiri, and then there's no schedule. In the condo, there's no schedule for dropping our garbage. Now, second part of question is that the impact of Airbnb. No? When the Airbnb, I call that users or clients are not practicing segregation. But that is if the Airbnb is a house, it's a resort, then you can the Airbnb host can segregate. But what if it is in the condo again and they don't practice? So I think we could have that numbers. I know that Engineer Rason is really into those numbers, and I like the discussion on systems thinking because I think Professor really here is really on to the AIM standards of systems thinking. Thank you.
Sige po.
Thank you, Ace.
Yeah. So I think in terms of statistics pagdating po dun sa urbanization, so really good question. And I would like to siguro establish first that our waste analysis and characterization studies, usually coming from the LGUs, no? 10 years po, no? Every 10 years yung solid waste management plan. So ibig sabihin, pag nag-develop in between sa 10 years, good luck po kung paano natin malalaman yon. Not unless, let's say, the condos, no, or the business owners would also conduct their own waste analysis and characterization study, which we are definitely advocating. Now, just maybe to give some rough estimation, kapag nasa urban area tayo, let's say 0.7 kilograms per person per day ang pinoproduce natin, kapag tayo bigla naging Airbnb guest, pumunta sa isang lugar, or tayo basically naging turista, based on my personal study po for tourist location, umaabot po yung ating waste generation from 0.7 if I'm from an urban location to being a turista, 4 kilograms per day. Bakit? Kasi syempre, turista ako, lustay ako, bili ako, generate ako ng basura. Now, on the question na, paano yon, no? Paano yung basura natin, garbage chute, etc. I think that condos also adjusted in a way that newer condos, wala na po nung chute na doon mo lang ibabagsak yung basura mo. They now have their own materials recovery facilities or at least their drop-off locations sa bawat floor sa basement, kung tamang understanding ko. No, at least from those that I am familiar with. And they have minimum 3 bins, but usually 2 or 3 yon, depende on the number of occupants. And paanong mangyayari naman sa collection, walang oras ang collection namin sa condo. Condos are can either be one part of LGU collection or in most cases, they have their own private collectors. And on that note, the private collectors will be mandated depending on ano sinabi ng developer kung kailan siya pipick up, which is usually ayaw yon makikita ng mga residente sa condo, no? Because yes, they are deadma, but ayaw nilang makita yung kadiri. So it's usually happening at night. And what happens is that doon sa materials recovery facilities ng mga condos natin, yung ating mga kuya and ate na binabayaran ng ating association dues are the ones segregating for us kapag tayo ay tamaritis mag-segregate. And those are also collected by your private collectors that have their own channels kung saan po nila yung dadalhin. Now, the impact is that definitely, I agree with you, when you have real estate, you have lots of land, then you have, elbow room, what to do, put up a facility, put up this, put up that. But I think this also comes from a standpoint that we have not really looked at the numbers of our waste generation, waste collection, the whole waste value chain up to the facilities that can accommodate which type of waste there is. We are not looking at it in a standpoint that we have to address types of waste for specific types of technologies or even processes na magmamatch doon sa characteristic ng basura na meron tayo. Because definitely in Quezon, it's different sa basura ng Sorsogon and it's different sa basura ng San Fernando. Believe me, no? In Boracay, amoy parcel ang basura doon kasi maraming hotels. Pag pumunta tayo sa ibang lugar, no, medyo mas amoy malansa kasi mas maraming organic waste. So it's very different. And I think the reason why I'm saying this is because once we get to know the numbers will tell us what we should do. That's the actual time where we say na kailangan bumili tayo ng ganitong number of truck kasi alam na natin kung ano yung volume na i-generate to begin with. So that our resources can be matched according to the quantity and the quality of waste that we have. The intention of the bins, let's say for example, will also be aligned with what the culture of the waste generation is telling us. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all for solid waste management. Okay, so that's at least what I can share, and hopefully I was able to answer your question. In fact, for those in the cities, we have to really check our waste analysis and characterization study to say that if we cannot haul it anymore, maybe that's enough call for us to just stop developing first paulit-ulit, no? Kasi it will just cause another point of stress. And if the system cannot take it, the waste management system of just collecting, saan din natin ilalagay yon? You cannot just put the blame on the collectors na ba't hindi nyo makolekta? Because una pa lang, when the contracts were given, do you think the numbers are accurate? So for example, you're given a contract, okay, hakot ka 500 tons per day, but development already happened. People are coming from other cities, other areas. It's not just 500 anymore. Okay, so I think in all of this, my main point is that waste analysis and characterization study is, you know, the foundation of all waste management strategies. Crucial. As much as possible, don't do it every 10 years. No, hindi kakayanin talaga. Nag-pandemic na at lahat, nagbago na rin yung behavior ng tao. Development happens, hindi mapipigilan, yes, but let us make sure that once we develop, the system can also follow. Because the bins, the facilities, etc., they can all happen, but it has to be tailor-fit to the culture, the quality and quantity of the waste we are producing. Yan po.
So I know it's very difficult to come up with a wax, but we have the numbers because we have the producers, at least for the OEs, talking EPR. We have sales numbers. We can, it's probably not the whole, but we would have majority of the waste produced from a production standpoint. And I think this is where your value chain analysis comes in. I'm not saying that's the study that needs to be done, but that could help in the meantime.
Yes, that could help if also we are willing to share the information that we have.
Yes. That's a good point, Ivana, because if we were to calculate just on sales of certain consumer goods, we would be able to derive the volume of waste based on the consumption. So that should be relatively easy to do, but how to match that against the collection effort and the infrastructure to collect all that waste, that's a different matter altogether. Okay, I had another last question here, or take two questions, and then I'm gonna ask the panel to wrap up. Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you for Liveable Cities for arranging this collaboration, collab. But the center of discussion during this collab centered on waste management and recycling solely when we're talking about circular economy. I'm just curious how the localized communities or localized environment are doing anything in terms of other facets of circular economy, like product life extension and sharing models or material sharing models.
Anybody care to answer that?
I'd like to answer. My thinking is that as soon as we can address the collection system, then we can proceed smoothly to a circular economy. Because in reality, that is the bottleneck. How to collect and how to properly identify which goes to the landfill and which goes to the recycling process. So as far as the local is concerned, thank you.
Maybe just to add, for example, in our trash to cashback program, right? We are trying to collect recyclables. I think that node of actually collecting, and if I may share, it's also data input to a system that can help LGUs to have their real-time waste analysis and characterization study from a standpoint of, you know, every single person who's giving to the drop-off location. The framework or the ones that you're asking, like life extension, can happen in other types of waste. For example, if we will be able to, and we are already in the talks of getting e-waste as part of that platform, then definitely refurbishment, repair can be part of the system. I think that we are focusing now on the key nodes that has to be there before we can move to a circular economy.
But I completely agree with you. Most of the discussion has been on downstream. It's just that it's the heaviest, right? And so that does need to be addressed. But yes, upstream, this is why I was saying earlier, the OEs need to be part of these. We need to have partnerships with the OEs because we need to pump in investments in innovative packaging, for example, in innovative raw materials, for example, and just when we're talking about plastics, you have the virgin plastics, and we should have an abundant amount of recycled plastics as feedstock for local manufacturing. Domestic circular, we do not have a domestic circular economy because when we collect plastics, and I'm talking about plastics, PET, they get exported because we do not have the facilities, the infrastructure for and investments and incentives to facilitate a robust domestic circular economy.
So, ayan, on our end, the e-waste project po, one of our beneficiary is the Bigay Buhay Cooperative. They are the one that pursues the circular economy. No, so they repurpose, like for example, one of their product is a chair made out of wires, solid wires, and they also weave that to create a basket and other materials. Furthermore, we on our end also we promote the reuse and repurpose, especially and refurbish of electronic waste. So we also give electronics that can be repaired to our beneficiaries for them to allocate it to their sector na pwede pang magamit. Ganun po.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, last two. Go ahead.
We can take it together.
All right. Take it. Yeah.
Boya Chantenko from Rise Against Hunger. Just a follow through. That's an interesting question about model. We've been talking about different types of waste, and thank you for sharing your inputs, frameworks, and experience. Respectfully to our LGU leaders, the one on food, because, well, Philippines has a high food insecurity. In fact, Rise Against Hunger fed about 1.5 million out of managing waste. So a good model would be, for example, otherwise would have been wasted vegetable goes through a barter system. So in that case, like say in Nueva Vizcaya, Rise Against Hunger, in partnership with a number of consumer companies, if you don't mind my mentioning San Miguel, Mondinizen, what have you, they donate to us their canned goods, and we exchange that as part of the barter system with the vegetables. And in effect, the vegetables that we get are used in the community feeding program for schools. So that's one realistic model we're doing. Similarly, 2 weeks ago, I think at the nearby Shangri-La, we invited major players in waste management. These are consumer companies. They shared with us their ERP performance. That way, they also shared their models. So I think that could be the next level also, because currently, with respect to our LGU leaders, they are at that basic. It doesn't mean that there are no companies in their localities. But I guess no matter how good the framework is, no matter how good the experience shared, if it does not involve certain models, Filipinos love to follow models. As you said, who's the actor? Coco Martin, no? Okay, or the monks. Yeah, we aspire that, but in reality, between public and private sector, there is an ongoing partnership, I think. So a good person who would have been as a resource is the current MMDA chief, no? Who can give his inputs because we are in Makati. Do you classify Makati and Manila as a livable city? I am from Iloilo. Would you well, we have good waste management practices in Iloilo. For example, in the Esplanade River, it used to be a so dirty river. But because of the local government's program on waste management, now it's a UNESCO site. No? That point, simple. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the topic of food waste because it's not something that we were discussing today, but I believe it's an important topic. And, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in food waste and how it addresses food security. So maybe we should be in touch and have food waste as a topic here one day. Thank you.
Yes,
Please, go ahead.
thank you. In the context of the livable cities, the fear or acceptance that a few years from now, more than 50% of our people will be living in cities. I was thinking, did anyone of our distinguished panelists consider a combination of localized circular economy with the land value tax? The question I have to ask because in studies of Singapore and all the beautiful Scandinavian cities, it's always the combination, and not only of good garbage collection, but of the ownership of land, the incentives for funding for development. And this is being also now followed in some progressive cities in the East Coast in the United States, but in many cities of Canada. Of course, Southeast Asian cities, we are far from it. That may be admitted. The circular economy, we know well, you discussed it. It minimizes resource extraction and waste. It keeps materials, energy, and resources in continuous use via sharing, via leasing, reuse, repair, refurbishing, and recycling. Many cities, many towns are trying to do that. But the ownership of land ownership, is a no-no for a topic in oligarchic Philippines. Urban land reform, pay little attention to that because the moment you start it, you go nowhere. So, a nice way maybe to describe it is land value taxation, because the land value taxation, LVT, taxes only the unimproved value of the land. Unlike traditional property taxes that penalize building improvements. Do not tax improvements, but share the unearned increment coming from the increased value of the land. I know this is going to be a big topic. I don't want us necessarily to discuss it now. I do so because, by the way, I used to be a mayor in my town, and I sympathize with the two mayors who are here. And I continue to be in the peasant movement, and I am very happy that you mentioned coconut because I'm the chairman and CEO of COCOFED, of the Confederation of Coconut Farmers Organizations of the Philippines. So the combination of utilization of the different parts of coconut for the localized circular economy, but also the courage, the boldness that is being asked of us to bite the bullet on urban land ownership, so that we do not incentivize lands that are underutilized, lands that are there for speculation. There should be no room for that. We have to when we look at other cities that we admire many of the things that are on the surface. I mean, not superficial, but are on the surface. But we don't go deeper into the controversial aspects of it. On why they needed a strong government in Singapore to take care of the land question. Why they need social democratic countries in Scandinavia, because they have to answer to the land question. Why we cannot do it in the Philippines for as long as we keep on escaping, because the reformers are the big landowners themselves. So who will be funding our conferences if not the Ayalas and the Aboitises and the everybody? So come on, let us face it, mayors. We are mayors. I agree with you, and I am saying this not just for an important topic for the next campaign, but for beyond the campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. So let me ask Mayor Sunny and Cynthia if you'd like to respond.
It's a ticklish issue.
Well, that's just to confirm po, Mayor. You're very true in your statement that there's a big chunk of land not used in our countryside. And well, I suppose if 50% of our population will be living in the cities, that will be good for us because we'll have less problem in the countryside. But then again, we'll have to live in this country altogether. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, in my governance, I encourage my townmates, Barcelonanos, I call them Barcelonanos, to remain in our town as an engine of growth, because we need people to be there, and we need investors to be there. That's why in my capacity as mayor, in my so far 6 years, I have been trying to elevate the many things, like the kind of governance, like I am so enlightened by and guided by CMCI, because I know if I get to meet the standards of CMCI, then the town will eventually will be classified as a livable community. So that's my sort of badge, parang si Cardo, my badge for please come, businessmen, businesses, enterprises, come to Barcelona. Because at this time, what we have there, yung micro and small businesses only. And if I may add, Mayor, yung wax po ni Barcelona is current. Yes, not current as in 2026, but 2025, we did wax because we're so data-driven. I mean, I cannot just, pull from up there my decisions, where to base my decisions. So I have to rely on wax. So I know that the overall per capita waste generation of each Barcelonanon is only 0.09%. Yes, that's per person per day. See, and I guess yes, because it's a small town trying to become a livable community.
Wow! Congratulations, Mayor. Congratulations. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for questions, but I'd like to give each of our panelists an opportunity to give your last thoughts, that you would like to leave the audience with. Ivana, may I start with you?
So many thoughts, but guess the only thing is, because we are talking about circular economy, let us really look at it from the different phases in the circular economy, from upstream to midstream to downstream, and not focus on aquatic and terrestrial pollution, because that has been the focus. And I agree that's the red flag that does need to be addressed, but we do need to approach it from a systems level if we really were to solve the pain points across the entire system, hopefully in the next 5 years, 10 years, 5.
Thanks, Ivana. So for me, I've always been an advocate of being data driven. Yeah, numbers you can get a hold of it. Don't be afraid to reach out also to your universities to actually help you create that waste analysis and characterization study so that all of the strategies that we're thinking, it be a linear economy or a circular economy, is data driven so that at least we have a guiding, we have a compass to actually go through it. And we are talking about municipal waste, e-waste, and all sorts of that. But any other sector in our lifetime will always have wastage. So it's the same for any sector. Please do your wax, and the rest will follow.
Thank you. Mayor Cynthia?
Yeah, I started my retort to the first question that Sir threw by saying that there has to be contextualization when it comes to local government units because absorptive capacities are different. But there is one constant, which is ito po talaga, the leaders should have that integrity, competence, and character. Not only before election, but long before elections, during elections, and long after elections. Kailangan ho talaga. Resulta na lang po ang magkaroon tayo ng mga produkto ng mga galing sa waste, resulta na lang po ng good governance.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Malabanan?
Ayan po. As my parting message, let me share lang po yung isa sa mga taglines na sinasabi namin during our IEC sa mga barangays. Ang tamang pamamahala ng basura ay hindi solong pasanin ng gobyerno, kundi responsibilidad ng bawat mamamayan, bawat households. Kasi po, bawat mamamayan, bawat isa sa atin, nagge-generate ng basura. I think wala po dito ni isa sa atin na makakapagsabing wala tayong nag-generate na basura sa isang araw. So kailangan sa atin pa lang po, i-manage na natin or segregate yung basura natin. Kasi pag hindi, pag wala pong suporta ng bawat isa sa atin, I don't think po mag-work out yung solid waste management ng isang syudad or ng isang munisipyo. Salamat po.
CJ?
So, ayan. Based on the perspective of the youth sector here in the Philippines, no. So I agreed earlier that the bins should be simpler for that the youth or the children, the Gen Z or the younger generations here may understand how solid waste management work, how we segregate, how we throw our garbage on the right track or in the right direction. So, ayun, it starts on how you educate your community and how you interact with them. So, ayun, on our end, we're the only, we have the specific ways that, ayun, kami lang yung nasa panelist na merong specific ways na tinatakil, no? So, ayun, on our end, we request that not that our community should have could have an initiative that educate their people and practice on how they can help managing their waste well.
Thank you, CJ.
Yeah.
Mayor Zani?
Thank you. First of all, thank you po for having me here. Second, my apologies if I'm coming from a very parochial point of view because I'm a grassroots leader po. That's where I'm coming from. Third, as Lopez po is moving forward to a component city, sir. Hopefully in the next 5 years po, will be qualified to be a component city, the first in southern Quezon. And
After today, I'll be bringing this circular economy to our province as president of the league, and hopefully 5 years from now, I'll be practicing circular economy in the city of Lopez. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. No apologies necessary, Mayor. Actually, we're often asked, why do we focus on livable cities? Why do we focus on cities? Well, for us, the reason is simple, and it's sort of political as well. Simple because we feel that it is municipal and city mayors and governors who are closest to the ground and who get things done. Okay? Because they are working community by community, city by city, municipality by municipality, and effectively bringing change. And they have the power and the resources to bring change at relatively small scale to large scale, and it can have an impact on a municipality or a city. Contrast that with today's generation of national leaders who I think have become very dysfunctional, disruptive, undemocratic, unaccountable for what they do. And really, they are giving us very low value added from a political point of view relative to LGU officials. And we have to recognize this big disparity and look at the next election how we begin to replace the dysfunctional and disruptive delusional types and remove them from office permanently. And I think replace them with good officials. And I think really our hope is to see that local leaders gain in visibility and popularity so that they become elected as national leaders because they have the practice of managing something, an executive function on the ground, which what we need. We are a country that needs less talk and better implementation. Right now, we are getting plenty of talk, plenty of plans, but we're low on implementation. And we need to change this culture and look at delivery and implementation as I'm seeing here, between Barcelona and San Fernando and Lopez. So this is really why we go into livable cities. Today has been a very interesting session. I learned a lot. I know that we wanted to talk about the circular economy, but realized that we had to really get back to basics, which is the whole collection and waste management system. We had to address that. We have to address a lot of sort of social behavior and motivations to also begin to develop this into a culture. I think we're realizing that it's a topic that is far more complicated than any of us imagined. But once we dig into this big chart here that Ivana showed at the beginning, we'll begin to realize that in order to fix it, we need to take a very systems approach to this problem and address it. So I'm happy that we've sort of gone on this journey today to learn more about the system. This won't be the first time we'll be going back to this topic because it is a co-lab. We selected this topic to be one of our 3 co-labs because we felt it's an important enough topic to go back and revisit several times over to get deeper and deeper into the problems and deeper into the solutions. So I want to thank all of you today for coming out with us here on site at the Aboitiz Tech Space at AIM, for joining us on Zoom and on Facebook. And I want to thank, of course, all our panelists today for answering all the questions that we have and really educating us. So Thank you very much, Ivana and Siege, Mayor Cynthia, Ms. Malabanan, CJ, Mayor Sunny. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I hope this is not the last time that we all hear from each other and that we all cooperate with each other. And it also gives me ideas about other topics to address in the future, including food waste, an important topic, which we've done before, by the way, once before, but it's something that we should revisit. So thank you very much again. And we look forward to having you join us at any of our Livable Cities labs, our co-labs. So we have, aside from circular economy, we have co-labs on new mobility, basically EVs and renewables, and another co-lab on AI and smart cities. And we also have local labs where we focus not on a topic, but on a locality. Okay, it's on an LGU. So first local lab coming up for this year will be with Pasig, and we'll hold it on site in Pasig. So we've done these local labs several times before. We've moved it around. We've been to Jensan and Zamboanga, Tagbilaran. So we've been around several places, Cagayan de Oro. So we look forward to resuming the local labs, and the first one will be in Pasig, coming up in August. So thank you very much, and let me just first remind everyone we will flash a QR code for the evaluations. Okay, and we'll turn over to Yanni for some other announcements. Yanni?
Thanks, Bill. As we conclude today's Livable Cities Co-Lab on circular economy, may we bring with us these valuable takeaways from this discussion. First, lasting circular economy success depends not just on technology and policy, but on sustained social and behavioral change that aligns everyday choices with waste-reducing systems. Second, community-led organizing and mobilization transform circular economy initiatives from isolated projects into scalable, sustained systems with community ownership, expanded networks, and local capacity building. Third, an efficient circular economy also prioritizes safe e-waste disposal and recovery systems that capture valuable metals, protect communities from hazardous informal recycling, and create green jobs through sustained EPR framework. Last, strong legislation for zero waste LGUs is essential to an efficient circular economy. This establishes waste hierarchies, mandates producer responsibility, and creates the regulatory framework needed to transform waste into sources at scale. The essence of our co-labs is to establish more collaboration among our partners and attendees. As we move forward, may we commit to our shared vision by carrying out our individual takeaways. Again, our deepest gratitude for today's distinguished panel, the Honorable Attorney Cynthia Falcotelo Fortes, Mayor of Barcelona, Sorsogon, the Honorable Sunny, may I call you Sunny Ubana II, nakadalawa na po kayo, of Lopez, Quezon, Marilen Malonzo Malabanan, Supervising Environmental Management Specialist and Head of the Land Management Division of the City Environment and Natural Resources Office, City of San Fernando, Pampanga, Ms. Ivana Aguiling de la Torre, founder of Kaya ROI and Chief Curator at HERG, Engineer Siege Razon, Chief Sustainability Officer at BEST, and Mark C.J. Donesa, TEP 14, overall co-head of the e-waste project. We also want to thank our partners, League of Cities of the Philippines, League of Municipalities of the Philippines, Ayala Corporation, and Globe Telecom for their invaluable support. To our participants joining us here on site, please look at our QR code. Kindly accomplish the form, and we will give you a certificate of attendance after that. And those who are here, may we invite you to Fuller Hall, where we will have some snacks. We have our ushers who will bring you and guide you to the area. Thank you again, and see you at the next Livable Cities event. May we ask the panel to please stand up for a group photo? Yes. Say waste. Thank you. And may we request our guests on site to please stand up, move to the center, and may we ask our panel of speakers to go back to your area and we can have a group photo. Thank you very much.
And thank you for supporting CMCI.
Oh, wow. Sergeant Pink, I'm a fan.
Closer. Hey, closer, guys. Closer,
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three. Another one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Invite you for some merienda.
Mamang galing mo. Thank you. Thank you. Salamat. Hi, sir. Jenny. Oo. Newton TV.
Bayan ko ito. Material.
Please come visit Sorsogon. Si engineer.
Hey, Tayo. Sa Jesus mo, marami ko po explorers.
Oh, lalo sa loob.
Opo. Senyor, opo, nakating na. So, may card. I will going south. Opo. Wala namatay na po ang FL. Ito gumaka po yung maglilit sa fiscal niya. Babayan ko yan. Sige, sir. Sir, sir po kayo sa amin. Ako, marami po kayong ano doon, consequence.
Ongoing project that we planting and replanting.
Once again, we invite everyone to join us for snacks at the Fuller Hall just across the Aboitiz Tech Space.
Yes, sir. Ano na yun? Pag si Ellie po, yung kanina na lahat, ito lang is po yun. So, ito po ay barangay Thank you, sir.
Oh, Mayor.
Sir,
Thank you po.
Mayor.
Yes. Salamat. Sa Leyte po ako. Thank you. Okay, sa Sorsogon. Malapit ba yan? Thank you. Nice to meet you. I was inspired kasi LGU na pag-kami. Kukumpi tayo. Unang tingin tubig na. Tapos na yung
Hello, everyone. We'd like to invite you for some merienda in the Fuller Hall outside. You'll need to leave the room because there'll be a class next. So if everybody could please continue the networking at the Fuller Hall just right outside in the room beside us. Thank you very much.
So we're doing something regional wise.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're doing all this agroforestry, so I'm sure.
Hello, everyone. We'd like to invite everybody for merienda. We may continue our networking sessions there over snacks. We'd like to ask everybody to leave the room, mind your belongings, and transfer to the Fuller Hall just right outside in the room beside us. Thank you very much for coming to today's lab. Please don't forget as well to scan the QR code. After answering the feedback form, you'll receive a certificate of attendance from us. Thank you very much.
Ayun, brother, other value.